Hey guys, Victor here, coming at you again with another deck profile. And for today's video, we're going to be doing an updated Dark World list. Now, this isn't going to be Danger Dark World, and it's not going to be Fiendsmith Dark World. Today, I basically elected to make this as close to a pure Dark World list as possible, while still being able to do some, degenerate shenanigans, I guess. Because it wouldn't be Dark World without it, right? So, with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. As always, we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup first, and as far as like the Dark Worlds are concerned, the lineup is basically still the same until we get some new cards. So yeah, with that in mind, we're going to be playing our 3 Genta Gateman of Dark World, which you just discard to add the Gates of Dark World from your deck to your hand, and from there you basically just get your entire engine rolling, right? As the Gates will now be able to discard and draw because you have the perfect material in the graveyard in the form of Genta, and then when Genta is banished, once per turn, it'll be able to bring itself back as long as you control a face-up Dark World card, which you will because you typically banish it off the Gates of Dark World. So yeah, this card is just, it gets the entire engine rolling, no reason not to play it at 3. Then to accompany our 3 Gentas, we're playing 3 Reign-beaux Overking of Dark World, which when this one is discarded, it allows us to search our deck for any level 5 or higher monster except itself. So this is the card that, once again, will give us access to cards like Sillva and Grapha, which, I mean, pretty solid cards that we want to have in our hand just to be able to like continuously play the game and bounce back even more resources. But more important than that is Reign-beau's graveyard effect, where you're able to bounce back any level 7 or lower Dark World monster that you control, basically from your field to your hand, right? And special summon this card out. So this is one of the fantastic methods that we have to be able to continuously replenish our resources and just grow our hand size to be able to continuously discard cards. And it's very common, right? Where you'll have the Genta out on the field, so you'll just bounce that back with your Reign-beaux, and then you're able to use its effect again to search out another Gates and just continuously get the engine rolling, right? So yeah, 3 Reign-beaux, pretty solid card. And then for the final 3 of monster, we're playing 3 Snoww, Unlight of Dark World, which when it's discarded, just searches your deck for any Dark World card. Really straightforward stuff. That's it for the 3-ofs, and then for the 2-ofs, we're playing Grapha, Dragon Lord of Dark World, which its discard effect just allows you to pop a card on the opponent's side of the field, but um, ideally you're going to be going first every time, right? So that effect doesn't really matter too much. But what we really care about with Grapha is that it's basically the same as Reign-beaux, right? Where you're able to bounce back your face-up Dark World monsters to your hand and special summon this card from the graveyard. But unlike with Reign-beaux, it doesn't have the level 7 or lower restriction. The only restriction is that you can't go Grapha for Grapha, but that's perfectly fine, right? Because that means we can literally bounce everything else back to our hand. We are still going to be playing 2 Sillva, Warlord of Dark World. I don't care for gold. I don't care for Lucent. What I do care about is having Sillva because it pairs really nicely with the ceruli, which we are going to be playing right here. But more importantly, I feel like Sillva is honestly the best Dark World card to have in your hand whenever you have the Fusion Grapha out, right? Because you're going to be able to negate something kind of with your Fusion Grapha, and then you're going to be able to discard the Sillva, and then because it's treated as your opponent discarding it, it's still going to loop 2 more cards out of your opponent's hand. So even if you don't get like the ceruli stuff rolling, as long as you have a Fusion Grapha on your field, which is extremely easy for this deck to accomplish, and a Sillva in your hand, you're still going to be like providing like major disruptions to the point where your opponent is going to be struggling to break even like your somewhat mediocre boards. So yeah, that's why Sillva better than the other guys. And then lastly, we have the 1 ceruli Guru Dark World. So that way we can still, during our turn, loop a couple of cards from our opponent's hand. But honestly, you don't even really need to rely on it in this version of the deck, but it's still just a nice option to have. That's it for the Dark World monsters. Now, I said we're not going to be relying on the danger monsters entirely, but we still have to play a couple of them just to have like some kind of like form of discard, right? But we don't need to play like 15 of them just to try and see all the other cards that we want. But even so, we're going to be playing just 1 danger Bigfoot, 1 danger jackalope, 1 danger Tsuchinoko, 1 danger Nessie, and 1 danger Mothman. I feel like you probably don't really need more than this, to be honest, and just having one of each name ensures that you're basically going to be able to trigger all of their effects, potentially, throughout your game. And we basically just need them for that little extra oomph to be able to just discard more cards a little bit more often, even though it is leaving it up to chance because, your opponent randomly discards a card, basically, every time you resolve a danger monster or try to activate a danger monster. But as long as we're not heavily relying on them, I think it's perfectly fine as is. So yeah, one of each of these 5 is more than enough to get the job done. And then for the other monsters that we are going to be playing, we're going to be playing 3 Tour Guide from the Underworld. When it comes to like Dark World and like the modern age, I love this card in the Fiendsmith variant, and when I'm not playing like a danger heavy package, I'm not going to be playing Gen and Ken, so that means I'm going to be playing Tour Guide from the Underworld, which honestly, just on its own, gets so much advantage out of like, I don't know how to explain it properly, but basically, if this card resolves and you're basically able to get everything that comes with it, the game is basically going to be wrapped up in most situations because it really is that good of a normal summon in this deck. But what you're typically going to be summoning off of the Tour Guide is going to be Buio the Dawn's Light. And Buio is just like another phenomenal card. So even if you draw it, it's still fine because it's an extender, right? As you're able to special summon this card from your hand as long as you negate another fiend monster on your field, which, I mean, in the case of this deck, genuinely doesn't matter because all of our effects trigger in the graveyard. So as long as you're not like negating your fusion grapha, you're still fine. And then more importantly than that, when this goes to the graveyard, it allows us to search our deck for for the spell card known as Mutiny in the Sky, which is just another fusion spell that allows us to access even more cards from the extra deck so easily, right? But yeah, like I just love this engine. I feel like it adds so much to the deck and adds so many different layers that were previously missing. And that's it for that. And then we are playing one more card to take advantage of this, being Versago the Destroyer. Now, because we are playing Versago, that means that we are going to be playing something like Cherubini and the extra deck, as the typical combo, right, is normal summon Tour Guide, bring out Buio, then link those two into the Cherubini effect as Chainlink 2, sending this for cost, and then your Buio's effect will be Chainlink 1. So basically, we're just giving it a little bit of extra protection from cards that your opponent may have, like, I don't know, maybe for whatever reason your opponent thinks Skullmeister is good, right? Which they shouldn't, but you never know with Yu-Gi-Oh players. So yeah, you're gonna be able to send the Versago for cost with your Cherubini. You're gonna be able to add the Mutiny in the Sky, and then from there you can literally fusion summon into whatever play your deck needs. So I love this engine. I think it's so cool. You should definitely try it out if you haven't like given it a chance yet. And with that, that's the monster lineup, and now we can finally move on to the spell and trap portion of the list. Now that we're on the spell and trap lineup, the first card we're going to be talking about is the Gates of Darkworld, which I will be playing at 3 because I enjoy discarding and I enjoy drawing. Simple as that. Then to accompany our 3 the Gates of Darkworld, we're going to be playing 3 Dark Corridors. So this is something that's always controversial, right? Every single time in the comments, I have people telling me to play every different type of ratio, right? Saying 1 is good, 2 is the best, 3 is the best. Point is, it doesn't really matter. But in this specific version, I feel like playing 3 is probably the best option, mainly because we don't rely on cards like the Danger Monsters as often as we would in Danger Darkworld, and we don't have the Fiendsmith engine to just like balance the deck out itself also, right? So through the use of Dark Corridor, that means that we're going to be able to have a Darkworld card in our hand as consistently as possible, as well as trigger their effects, and then ideally we can just get the entire deck rolling from there, which is something that we can do if we play like more draw cards, for example, but I'd rather just play the 3 Dark Corridors so that at some point, at least more frequently, I'll be able to get one guaranteed discard for whatever card I need for whatever situation may arise. Now, yeah, it does technically like break if you open up multiples, but we play plenty of options just to be able to get rid of them from our hand, as they make excellent fodder for the 5 danger monsters that we play, and as well as like just a bunch of other cards in the extra deck and main deck that we can take advantage of just to be able to like make sure that we get the most value out of this, even if we do end up drawing multiples. So yeah, 3 Dark Corridor for this specific version, I think is definitely the way to go. Then that's it for the 3 elves, and for the 2 elves, just 2 Allure of Darkness. Yeah, draw is everywhere, but this deck already dies to draw anyway, so who cares also. Might as well just try and draw more cards for every situation possible, and this card allows us to do that. And you may be wondering, what if I don't want to banish a Dark World card? Well, we play so many different dark monsters that I'm sure you can find something to banish off of this, and it'll be fine. That's it for the 2 ofs though, and then for the 1 ofs, we have the 1 Call by the Grave to stop hand traps, the 1 Triple Tactics Talent to punish our opponent for hand trapping us, or if we happen to have it with the ceruli, for example, we can just loop them for like another additional card, and then hopefully the game will be wrapped up by that point. 1 Foolish Burial. I love this card in this deck because it just has so many different uses, whether we're sending Grapha, Reign-beaux, or even something like Versago or Buio, right, to trigger their graveyard effects or just set ourselves up for a fusion play. Like, this card just gives so much added consistency to the deck that I just really enjoy it. We're playing 1 Card Destruction as our auto win button, 1 Mutiny in the Sky, which is what we search out for the Buio to be able to fusion summon, 1 Dark World Accession as another fusion spell that we can search off of cards such as like Snoww, and because we end up playing cards like Versago, right, that means that we're going to be able to access monsters like Chlorless, which just blow up the entire opponent's board and prevent them from basically doing anything if you happen to have it. So yeah, pretty funny card. And then lastly, we're going to be playing one Dark World Archives. I've gone back and forth on why I don't really enjoy this card, but because this is like a more like pure in a traditional sense type of Dark World deck, I feel like we kind of just have to play it. And like both of its effects are solid, right? Like you get to discard, draw two, and then you also just get to discard to boost your monster's effects. But I just feel like in a lot of situations with like the other more degenerate versions, it's just not very much needed. But it's perfectly fine in this build. And with that, that's a spell lineup. No traps because this is a Dark World deck. Why would you play traps, at least in the main? For the side, you know, put in all your floodgates that are still available to you. But for the main, nah, all spells and all monsters. So with that, that's the main deck, 40 cards as always, and now we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now that we're on the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with the Exceeds first, and the first card we're going to be playing is number 62 Gears the Timeless, which has 3 effects, but we basically only care about the draw to discard one. Every once in a blue moon, we'll try to use the Reborn effect, but like I said, it's basically just to draw to discard one and just get through the engine a little bit faster. And we're playing one number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord as our choice of negate. It's either this or you play Titanic Galaxy for the spell and trap negate, and it's honestly up to you and whatever you feel is more difficult to stop, right? That's it for the Exceeds, and then for the links, we're playing Cherubini, Ebon, Angel of the Burning Abyss, as this is pretty pivotal to the tour guide combo just to make sure that it actually functions and gets you the max value possible. As I mentioned, this is pretty much always going to be sending Buio for cost, and then from there, because you're going to have the Mutiny in the sky, you're going to be able to go to a fusion summon and then just continue to play from there. Then we're also playing one Muckraker from the Underworld. Fantastic at helping you discard cards and just being able to bring back Fiends, but you do have to be a little bit more careful because it does lock you into Fiends after you decide to use its effect, and it also cannot be used as a link material on the turn that it is link summoned. So try to save this for like the end if you possibly can, because it does restrict you quite a bit from the plays that you can make. Then for our choice of bounce, we're going to be going with Security Dragon. Now, normally you would see me play like a Akashic Magician, especially in the Danger version, right? But because we are playing Tour Guide in the main deck, we are going to be having a little bit more of a difficult time just like clearing up the extra monster zone. So I figured we're just going to go with the Security Dragon instead because it's a lot easier to go for a co-link than it is clearing the extra monster zone. Not that it's hard, but like we just have to work less with this one, and it still gets the job done as well, right? As it's pretty much just only there to bounce the ceruli every once in a while. Then for the other Link monsters, we're playing the one IP Masquerena, which can go into the SP Little Knight for a banish, the Nightmare Cerberus for a potential draw and pop, the Nightmare Unicorn for a potential draw and spin, and those are basically just the 3 targets, but we pretty much have like a pretty varied field as, you know, the Unicorn puts something back into the deck, the Cerberus pops a special summon monster, and the SP Little Knight can literally just banish anything and then continues to be a nuisance while it's on the field. So yeah, that's it for the Link 2s and the one Link 3. Then for the Link 4s, we're playing one Saryuja Skuldrip because it's still very easy to flood the field with monsters, and we just need something to be able to get rid of all of them. But Saryuja's effect is still phenomenal as well, right? As we draw 4 cards, then we put 3 bad cards at the bottom of the deck. And this is one of the main methods that we have available to us to be able to get rid of those dark corridors that you no longer want to see. And its other effect to be able to special summon monsters from your hand, also pretty like impactful, as it lets you bring out cards like Sillva, for example, and then just be able to bounce them back to just get your Reign-beaux and your graphas going again. But yeah, I love this card. I feel like it's should be probably like a modern stay in most Dark World lists. And then for the other rank 4, we're playing a Baoku, the Lightless Shadow. We play so many Fiend monsters that this card is super easy to summon, right? So it feels like a no-brainer, and both of its effects are really solid too, right? You get to discard a card, and then you either get to pop a card on the field, or you get to reborn a dark/light monster from your graveyard. Which, I mean, we were playing nothing but darks for the most part, so we basically get a free reborn every time as long as we discard. Just be aware, though, that the discard is for cost, so it will not trigger your Darkhold cards, but it will trigger cards like your Danger monsters, or just allow you to put cards if you, for whatever reason, happen to draw like Versago, for example. This is a great way of being able to just put that in the graveyard and setting yourself up for later on in the game. That's it for the links, and then for the fusions, we're playing one Aerial Eater to act as Foolish Burial from the extra deck, one the Duke of Demise, which just a phenomenal card that on the field gives us an additional normal summon, and in the graveyard is able to banish itself to add back a level 4 or lower Fiend or Zombie from our grave, which, you know, there are plenty of very valid choices you can make, right? You can add back Buio, you can add back Genta, you can add back Snoww, but whatever like card you happen to choose, you're gonna get mad value out of it. So I just love this card. Then for the final two fusions, we have Chloralus, Chaos King of Dark World, to be able to blow up our opponent's field during their turn. Or I guess technically if we're going second too, but it's typically just going to be there as like a last choice to be able to just auto win the game. And then lastly, the one Grapha Dragon Overlord of Dark World to be able to provide us with some kind of like pseudo negate, because while it doesn't negate the effects of normal spells, normal traps, and monsters, it does change them to we discard a card basically. So that's basically like the main combo that I mentioned earlier, right? Where even if you're not using Sillva's effect during your turn, you're going to be able to do it during your opponent's turn and still just generally disrupt their hand. And with that, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!